It's where he buys his cashews.
I get them in the garage or, outside, wherever, and just start driving some power into the floor.
Pretty serious podcast.
Sets, reps, lift, wait for someone to get out of the way so I can get on the equipment.
Grab one of your mates, go training with him. Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from More Than Lifting with the More Than Lifting podcast and my good friend ChristopherThatcher.com. Do you want to say hi, mate?
Hi, mate. Thank you very much. I love being the .com.
Yeah, it's pretty sexy. It gets me a bit. Anyway, we're here, two personal trainers from the UK, talking about bodyweight training, calisthenics, gymnastico, and all kinds of other fun, functional mobility work and exciting other things. Today we're talking about motivation. And I'll explain why in just a second. But first off, Chris, we've been up to anything exciting, anything going on, anything happening?
Nothing major to report since the last time around. Back into training in a big way. Smashing a few big numbers again, which is nice. Back onto a proper 4-day split in terms of my cycle. So getting 4 days in the gym, which is a real treat. Back at martial arts, obviously, contemplating doing the running like we talked about last time. Haven't quite got about it. I've been doing a lot more cycling. I'm basically getting everyone on a bike now, which is really great for sort of just general energy and cardio. And it's so nice not getting in and out of a car all the time, which is even more beneficial. So there's that. And the main goal, to be honest, is I've got a trip to Ibiza this weekend with a few mates for a stag do. So it's all about beach ready at the moment. So the last 10 days or so has been
not pole ready.
Not pole ready, no, beach ready. So
not getting on the pole this time.
No, just when I say beach ready, it's not even so much about trying to enhance aesthetics and trying to sort of get the best physique. It's more about just trying to get in as much training as I can, because I know I'm going to lose probably about 4 days of training sessions while I'm there. So it's just more a case of getting as much as possible, rather than worry too much about the look. But at the same time, it's nice to feel good in your body on the beach.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, well, that's a great motivation in itself, isn't it?
Exactly.
So, definitely. Well, that's going to be awesome, mate. I've never been to Ibiza. I've never been there.
We have to go. We have to go. And we've actually said our little mastermind, me, you, and our good friend Nick Elvery. We've said about heading out there to mark one of our sort of key celebration points in our little mastermind process that we've been doing. So maybe that'll be the main call for us, because you have to do it. At least once, but I'm sure you'll do it plenty of times. But it's I've got a feeling, knowing you'd rather enjoy it.
Yeah, I probably would have a good laugh. I'd probably embarrass myself. But
we'll grab a villa for a few days, the three of us, and I'll show you how to do it properly. Although saying that, that's probably a complete lie, because doing it properly is probably 10 years ago for me. I can give you
6 years for me.
I could give you a few tips and maybe just send you out on your own as I sort of roll into bed at like 1 a.m. But be fun nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you anyway?
Right,
you all good?
I'm all good. I can't really complain about much, really. I've been really struggling with my injury, and actually it's quite good that we're actually talking about motivation and stuff now when we are, because because I haven't been able to do any training, it's really been hard to kind of motivate myself to get back into doing stuff. I mean, you can always try and work around an injury, and with the competition just like on my shoulders, like it's going to be here soon, and at the minute I haven't been training in, like, I'm maintenance Rhys, you know what I mean? It's not been good. So I've been struggling with it really, but I'm heading down gymnastics this evening. I haven't been there in good 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe from my injury, so it's not been too good. And I had my first training session yesterday. Just a little one, just a bit of everything, just smashed it out quick, and this is one thing I'd encourage someone who is struggling with motivation, is just to just do a quick one, whatever it is, just do something right now, bang, just do it, like 10 minutes, it doesn't matter, just really push. That's one of the great things about 100 push-up challenge, is like 10 minutes, you know what I mean, and it's not shy either, like 100 push-ups ain't easy, so it's a good one to kind of, and when you kind of feel it, you're getting the endorphins, you feel a bit good afterwards, you're all like, all your arms and your chest are all warm and fuzzy, everything kind of feels good again, and you're all like, yeah, I'm sick.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about before, even if it's something as low level as just some basic rolling and mobility stuff, as soon as you start moving and you got yourself from that seated, laid back, slightly demotivated and lethargic and low energy position, and you actually just start doing a few low level things, if you make that deal with yourself, and we'll probably get into this in a bit more detail as we go through the show, but you know, you make that deal that, okay, I'm just going to do this one thing. I'm just going to sit on the roller for 10 minutes. And, you know, that then becomes, you know, maybe some, you know, deliberate stretching and joint mobilization, which then becomes a few press ups, which maybe get, you know, paired with a few squats. If you've got a pull up bar, you might think, well, I might as well make it a circuit now. And before you know it, you know, you're into a whole workout. Or you just keep it at the low level stuff and then say, tomorrow I'll up the ante a little bit. So it's all about... Yeah. It's really just getting into this always something mindset rather than all or nothing, you know. And I've suffered from that in the past, where I've thought, well, if I can't do my full workout, then there's no point doing anything at all. Yeah. And that's just not a great place to be, because you lose that momentum, as you've sort of pointed out. But anyway, let's well, as I say, we'll get into all the sort of motivation and mindset stuff as we go. But I believe you actually had a question from someone, which is what prompted this topic.
Yeah. Well, exactly. This is where it's come from. A guy, Chris, reached out to me. Another Chris reached out to me yesterday. Oh yeah, of course. Well, we know all about that. Here we go again. It's what happens when they change something. So Chris, he reached out to me and he said he was struggling. Like he does his boxing class, and there he's all happy and like motivated, but as soon as he gets out of it, that's it. Like he's training by himself, and he loses interest, and it's very hard to actually get started. And this is common, like, isn't it? Really, I struggle with. Everyone struggles with motivation. Like it's like one of the age-old kind of philosophical dilemmas, isn't it? Like how do you kind of keep yourself going? And everyone has their ups and downs, and I think it all kind of works as a cycle, but you're in a good place if you've got at least one thing, like boxing, or for me, obviously gymnastics. For Chris, it's dancing. And there's always something that you're using to push, to keep you motivated and keep you working, a goal, you know, something you can pursue, rather than just being like, oh, I just want to be a bit beach ready. Do you know what I mean? Just using that up example. Like, yeah. I think that's a big point.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, look, even beach ready it's a goal, it's a focus. It gives you something to be pushing for, and I think that's paramount when it comes to motivation. Is there's got to be a why behind everything, and the why conversation. And I'll let you lead off with this and get into that, because I may go off on a bit of a big epic tangent with that. But you know, why is they're kind of effectively, I think, widely accepted now when it comes to sort of performance coaching, mindset coaching, you know, even all the way down just as basic fitness coaching, that you can always go about 5 levels down when you're looking for people's why, their deeper reasoning behind doing something. So, you know, we always get the superficial, I just want to look good on the beach. But if you actually drill down into what that is, you know, or I just, you know, I want to perform well at my gymnastics competition, or I just want to lose a few pounds, you know, when you actually really scratch the surface and, you know, get down to the actual core emotive reason that someone wants to accomplish something. It could be something really simple still, or it could be something outstanding that they didn't even realize was their motivation until you asked them the question. So there's so much around this, and I mean, we could probably just sit here now and list several different podcasts that have probably got episodes about motivation. It's something that comes up time and time again, whether it's in health, business, anything where people are trying to pursue a goal or trying to do something that's beneficial to their lives.
Savings.
Absolutely. Like, there's got to be motivation with everything. It's a core imperative component to actually getting stuff done. You've got to be driven towards a goal, driven towards a purpose. But it doesn't matter how many times you hear it from how many different people. We all, and I'm no different, and I'm sure you're not, we can all slip back into this sort of state of, I just don't know if I can be bothered, or just telling yourself a story about why you don't need to do that thing today that was going to move you that little bit further forward. Like I just said, you know, it's the all or nothing mindset. You know, if it's not going to move me 10%, 20%, 50% nearer my goal, then what's the point of doing anything at all? And it's understanding that it's all about the micro and the macro approach, the macro goals, you know, small little tiny incremental changes that become bigger changes over time. But anyway, I'll let you crack on with what you were going to share, because I know you had a lot of stuff to get into.
Well, just on what you said there about the all or nothing type of approach, I think that's something that mostly like trainers particularly struggle with, because they're always thinking, like, for me at least, like, it's like, oh yeah, total body workout every time, I've got to do my this and this, and I've got to get this in, and I've got to do, you know, and as soon as you can only do like, your pull-ups at your house, or you can only do like regular squats or pistols, and that's about it, then suddenly you aren't very motivated to do it. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, if I can't do pull-ups, then why am I doing push-ups? Like, you know, it makes no sense really, because all you're doing is putting everything back. But the kind of balance arguments are drilled into us so much, and it means a lot as well, and it does matter. But on such a tiny little scale, like one day or one little session, it's just irrelevant, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It's just funny that I think that's something that particularly people like us struggle with, you know, people who are really into it, who are very mindful of the process and their strategy in their approach to it.
Yeah, and it depends exactly. It depends on how you're cycling your training, and you know what sort of percentages you're looking to accomplish. You know, if it's just, you know, I'm just trying to lose weight, I'm just trying to get a bit fitter, then just doing something is always going to be better than nothing. But sometimes if you're on a particularly strict plan, particularly with your training, it may be that, okay, well, I know I have a certain number of days where I'm doing, say, active recovery, where I'm just doing rolling, stretching, or maybe I'm doing nothing at all. Maybe it's that one day a week where I just completely rest, allow my body to regenerate appropriately and optimally recover. So there can be an argument that you, just because of the way the week works out, because you've got a normal job and you can't just be a full-time athlete, you have to kind of work around other commitments and responsibilities that you have. Sometimes you maybe just sit there and think, well, okay, I've got to make a choice between half-arsing it today and then still having to take my active recovery tomorrow, or actually I can make today, because it's a bit pressed, my active recovery day, and then go all in tomorrow because I really need to hit particular markers, I need to hit particular numbers and, you know, rep ranges and a certain performance level in my training, and there's no point me trying to just squeeze out a few press-ups today, because actually that could diminish from me really going all in tomorrow. So it really depends on who you are and what your actual overriding goal is. So there are exceptions to this, but for most people just trying to maintain motivation consistently across the board, you know, and if they're not following that rigid a plan, if they are just trying to sort of work through day by day to maybe a slightly broader goal, then of course, you know, something is going to be better than nothing ultimately in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. Something is always better than nothing.
Completely. And there's really interesting, it came out actually last week, it was a blog post by a guy who I think I've mentioned on the show before, Dr. John Berardi, the head of Precision Nutrition, which is the company I basically go to for all my nutrition coaching and predominantly nutrition information.
It's where he buys his cashews.
It is, no, it's they're a coaching and education company. So them, and along with them and examine.com, you know, that's, you know, pretty, I mean, there are various other research journals and other sources of information that you can access, but those are two pretty powerful places to start if you're not already kind of immersed in the world of nutrition and health and exercise science research. But he released an article which, you know, effectively just said about, you know, always something versus all or nothing, and he gave this example of trying to see your diet, your health, your fitness, your exercise, and your general wellness, you know, your all-encompassing approach to your overall physical and mental well-being as a bit of a dial. So, you know, imagine like a dial on a cooker, or, you know, it's just 1 to 10 all the way around. And it's the fact that he was saying that regardless of what's going on in his life, he's always making sure, and likewise encouraging his clients to do the same, that the dial is always on no matter what. It might be down all the way down to 1, but it might equally sometimes be turned all the way up to 10, but it's never off. And I really like that visual. I think if you can kind of see it as that in your mind, that it's never completely off, it doesn't ever have to be completely off, there's always an opportunity to do something, then I think that can be quite motivating in and of itself, because you realise that even just this one little thing is going to maintain the momentum. It might not give me the huge gain that I would have otherwise got by having an hour and a half workout, or, you know, eating as cleanly as I possibly could all day, but it's still going to be better than just sacking it all off completely. Yeah,
definitely. And goals are really, really important in training. You need to have a goal, and finding a good goal as well is a great way to kind of find a source of motivation through a pursuit. So say with boxing as the example, like maybe you go for a fight. I mean, I don't know what kind of situation you'd be in to do something like that, but for me, like starting to do competitions with gymnastics was a huge motivation for learning skills and developing my disciplines. So like working on the pommel horse, working on the high bar, it gave me a reason to want to do all this stuff, which obviously follows through with a shitload of motivation and the momentum that's built up as you kind of acquire it. And that's one of the great things about skill training as well, is that it's not based on it's a great kind of fallback in a way for motivation. So you can say, oh yeah, maybe I'm not competing or anything, but maybe like learning to do a handstand, just as, okay, it's quite basic, but still being able to do a handstand is still relatively advanced for most people. So having that pursuit is a motivator in that you can see yourself develop a little bit, and as you progress and as you do little bits here and there, and that'll, the next day you're like, yeah, I'm going to do a few more handstands, and then you're like walking around and you're like, oh, quite fancy doing a handstand, and next thing you know, you're really good at them. But it's that initial, right, oh yeah, I want to learn the handstand. That is the initial driving force that will kind of create that domino effect that will help you follow through with your training and stuff like that. So that's one of the great things about just bodyweight training in general, is just having these skills and these variations that create kind of compound motivation as you progress and as you develop, and like borderline obsessive for some people, I think. And not saying that I am, because I'm as lazy as the next person in reality, but like just that in itself is like a great reason to train. And it's finding that reason, it's like you say, your why. It's finding that thing that really will give you a kick up the arse.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about
it's hard.
Yeah, of course.
It's hard to find that.
It's always hard, and you're trying to find some real sense of enjoyment around what you're doing. It's not always going to be the case, particularly when it's more conventional training. Like Chris was obviously mentioned his boxing. Did you say it was boxing?
Yeah, boxing.
And he doesn't struggle with that, but then it's the conventional training, correct? That it's more more difficult to kind of stay on track with, because the boxing it's the equivalent to me or you probably going out and playing rugby or football, or just doing something where you're just kind of running around and you're reconnecting with that inner child a little bit, and it is skill based. There's things to learn all the time, and it's kind of high energy, and it's not a case of just going, okay, well, the sets, reps, lift, wait for someone to get out of the way so I can get on the equipment. It's not that kind of mundanity that you can get with more conventional forms of training, and it's obviously something that is more of a passion than a pursuit. So it's about finding the sort of balance between those two things. And if it is a struggle, and going back to what we've kind of touched on a couple of times now, it is just getting deeper on that why. But prior to that, I would actually say, referencing in what you said about goals, I would say it is actually a 3-stage process, just to keep it very, very simple. And I always break this down to people as it's 3 W's, it's who, what, and it's why. So first off, it is about kind of like we've just been saying about, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what you find enjoyable, what you feel you're going to thrive most within because it's something that excites you. It's looking at who you are, and it's looking at those things, the interests, the passions, finding out, understanding that is what this path you're doing, is it something that you actually really genuinely want to do, or is it something you think you should be doing? You think you should be going to the gym because, that's what people have to do to get muscular and strong and lean, or are you pursuing the calisthenics route because you think it's cool and it looks great and you love watching stuff like that on Instagram, and, that's what you think would be kind of cool to do, but actually when it comes down to it, it's not something that really lights you up. It doesn't really spark the interest to kind of stick with it. So you can go into that in a far deeper level. And also, alongside that, understand who you are as a person. Like, you get to a certain point in life where I think if you've been on the planet, sort of 20 plus years, you get a kind of feel of how you respond in certain situations, like what leads you to absolute procrastination, what makes you get really pumped up, how frequently throughout the course of a week you're really kind of energized and going for it, and other times that you're not feeling quite so energized and up for things. You really have to kind of just figure out who you are. What are the kind of big limitations that tend to come up in terms of your thoughts, in terms of your behaviours? What kind of holds you back more consistently? And, how can you maybe work around those things? How can you overcome those particular obstacles? Likewise, look at, what your real strengths are in terms of your mindset, your physical performance, really go in all on that and try and look to optimize on those things. You know, when have I been at my most motivated? When have I been at my most driven? You know, you can really get into this stuff and, you know, without going through the entire psychological assessment process that I would use with the client, you know, that just gives you hopefully an indication as it's really important to just get yourself, like really start where you are. And then from that point, you would then move forward into what we were talking about before with the goals. You know, what do you want? Like I said, it kind of references back to the who. It's like what you actually want versus what you think you want can sometimes be different things. You know, we're very affected by our environment, by our culture, by the things that we think we should be doing, the things that we think are aspirational within our social community, you know, our friends, the places we hang out online. You know, it's really just trying to understand, is this form of training, is this way you're going about things really the thing that's going to kind of light you up, it's really going to get you driven. And then moving on from that, it's then the why. You know, once you've really clarified the goal, you know, like we were saying, the big macro goal, the ideal of what you want to be able to do in terms of your performance, how you want to look, how you want to feel, you know, understanding and making that completely aligned with who you are, then look at the why. You know, really get deep on why is that important to you? Why is it important to you personally? Why is it important in terms of how it would affect the people closest to you? What positive impact could that have? Could it be that just when you're training more consistently, you're a better person, you're a better partner, parent, son, brother, uncle, nephew, grandchild, whatever, you know, you're just a fundamentally better person, and therefore you're better in your other key relationships in terms of how you then impact other people around you. And then, yeah, the next level from that is, you know, what's the overriding bigger goal? You know, how does that then maybe transfer to something outside of, you know, even you and, you know, your close-knit group of friends, family, and your community? You know, can you be a great example? Do you aspire to be an example to other people? Not for the ego-driven reasons, but because you actually think the world's a better place when everyone's doing handstands. So, you know, maybe you can become another shining light in the calisthenics world to, you know, show people how to do that, and therefore, you know, inspire the world to be fitter and healthier. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that process anyway.
Yeah. I think another thing with that as well, because sometimes you kind of, it's hard to drill down on a why sometimes, and it's difficult. Sometimes you just want to get in better shape. Sometimes that kind of is your why, and it seems a bit simple, and so you don't really feel like that drives you enough. And I get that, I struggle with that as well. Even though I have all this other stuff going on, I still struggle sometimes. Like recently I have been struggling. So another thing that I would recommend someone do is, sometimes you've got to think of what kind of discipline you have or what skill you were doing, like with your boxing. Find a way to take that out of your particular class, you know, your gym, your once a week session at boxing, and find ways to integrate that kind of training into a normal kind of training session. For example, I'm no absolutely shit all about boxing, but maybe you could get like the little boxing pads, you know, the little teardrop ones, stick that up in your garage, and something you can just punch against, you know, when you get home, and that keeps you active. It keeps you involved in the sport that you're working with, and that in itself is another great motivation to do more training and just to train more. And then from that, you know, you'll end up doing some skipping or something, and again, that'll create that compounding effect. That compounding effect is the biggest thing, because that's that momentum build up, and if you can kickstart it a little bit, then that's the most difficult thing. You get people all the time, clients come to you, people come to you, oh yeah, I've really struggled to actually go training. The answer is go once, yeah, and then once you go once, go again, and then once you've gone 2 times, go 3 times, and once you've done it 3 times, you've built up a bit of momentum, and it'll be a lot harder, it'll be a lot easier to find it in yourself to actually turn up. You know, when I first started gymnastics, it wasn't very important to me. I turned up once, I turned up twice, I missed a week or 2 here and there, and then I come back a couple of months later to it, and I was like, tried it again and again, and that next thing, I'm doing it twice a week, you know what I mean, training for competitions. It all starts at the bottom, and it builds up slowly, and that, yeah, so even if you don't have that you don't go through that kind of why process, which is great and really important to do when you're working out your goals, but if you're just trying to work out a way to train and try and get out of 1 session a week and trying to find a little bit of motivation, that's great, to try and find a way to bring your training, like your pursuit, out of that class, and find a way to do it around the house, or find a supporting training method, some drills you do there, or something that you can then take out and do them at home, or you could do them down the gym, or whatever. You know, there's always a way of like taking it out, stepping back and just bringing those exercises out of your discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree. And you know, if you're going to make it even simpler than that in terms of trying to, you know, create even more inspiration and therefore motivation around it, it's, you know, that simple question: am I going to perform better when I go boxing? Am I going to perform better as a boxer if I do other forms of training that are complementary to that? You know, other forms of training that are going to help to develop my strength, my power, my speed, my flexibility, you know, all these things. I mean, if you just, I mean, look, you know, shining lights in boxing, you know, the likes of Floyd Mayweather, obviously Anthony Joshua, even any MMA guys, you know, just go and look at the training they're doing to complement their combat work, you know, the actual direct sport that they're doing. You know, how can you structure your training routine around that? You know, train for your sport. You know, and I found that exceptionally motivating in the past when I've, you know, played football, even with martial arts. You know, if I'm working on ranges of movement, if I'm working on single leg work, I know it's going to complement the sort of power and the drive and the degrees of movement, the flexibility and the speed that I have when I'm actually competing and actually training in martial arts. So if you try and not to see the things as separate from each other, oh, here's boxing and here's training, then, and see it as all one in the same thing, try and see that the training is actually hugely complementary to making you a better boxer, making you enjoy that more because you're going to be fitter, stronger, more powerful, all those things I listed, then I think that in itself is going to be a motivation. Take some of the drills that you would otherwise do at boxing, incorporate that as like a hit finisher or something at the end of your workout. But, you know, look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, being able to do some single arm press ups is obviously going to create more unilateral strength. You know, it's going to make my weaker side, whatever that may be, a little bit more powerful, a little bit stronger. You know, go and invest in some slam balls, you know, get them in the garage or, you know, outside, wherever, and just start driving some power into the floor. You know, find things that are going to be kind of exciting, but still have a reference back to the thing that you actually are most passionate about, which is clearly the boxing. And I think then you'll stop compartmentalizing it, you know, and I think if you see it all as part of your personal unique movement practice, all with the goal of being a better performer in the thing that you actually fundamentally love versus the thing that you find maybe sometimes a little bit more of a bind, then I think you're going to fly with that.
Yeah, definitely. Right, anything else? I've got one more actually. Lastly, the last one, and it's probably the easiest one as well, if I'm completely honest. We've gone through some pretty difficult processes, or, you know, real sit down and thinkers. This one's simple. Grab one of your mates, go training with him. If someone already going down the gym, brilliant. If someone you're going to bring into boxing, then even better, because they can get a bit excited about it and you can bounce off each other. We've spoken about it before, training partners, little networks of people training, communicating with people on social media who are involved in it, and building these little groups like training and accountability networks. I think we called it. It was episode 20 of the podcast. So that's another, like, the simplest one, the easiest thing to do. You can do it today. Grab your mate and go and do something with him. You know.
Yeah, simple, but highly effective.
Yeah, definitely. It creates a little bit of competition. You got your mate you're competing with. Nothing keeps me training more than when I'm training with someone else, and nothing pushes me harder either. Because I hate to say the word, but you kind of bully each other into doing it. You're like, what do you mean you can't do that? Yeah, of course you can. And you're like, and then you got to kind of prove it to each other. You know what I mean?
But that's simple things like that. And you feel accountable to someone else, not just in terms of someone's going to give you a hard time because you don't go, but if you don't turn up, that might let that person down. They might not want to go to the gym on their own or go to the bars or whatever, you know, it may, or they're just going to have to do it alone, and, you know, that sucks because, you know, it's actually a lot more fun doing it with someone. So you feel a responsibility to be there for that other person, and that in itself can just drag your lazy ass off the sofa, you know, when you've got someone else saying, come on, like, you know, it'd be great, I really want to train tonight, and, you know, it'd be great if you were there. You know, it makes all the difference when you've got, again, it's like we said with the why, it's something bigger than just yourself, and that can be, you know, this whole contribution thing that I talked about before, or the impact it has on the people closest to you, all the way down just to having one other person that you know you're letting down if you don't turn up. Yeah, absolutely. That's it. That's all my tips. So yeah, if you want to find out more about training partners and stuff, episode 20 of the podcast. Cool.
And I think that's about it, isn't it? I know you're a bit short of time, and I think we've covered about everything. Any final notes? Any thoughts?
No, I think we're good. I think that's pretty comprehensive. Until next time.
All right. Yeah, it was a pretty serious podcast, I think, today altogether, because there was a point to it.
Yeah, there was actually a focus. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good. I hope that helps. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us. And if it's something like this that affects everyone, then we'll certainly bring it up in the podcast, because any way we can help people is a great way of helping people, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. The more positivity out there, the better.
Yeah. And if it encourages you to do bodyweight training and learn some cool shit, then I'm definitely all for it.
Of course. Cool. Should we do a quick rock, paper, scissors and then
all right.
wrap it up?
Yeah. After 3, 4 then? 1, 2, 3, scissors. Rock. Oh no, we both went for basics and you slammed me.
Ah, wow, making a comeback.
Right, yeah, 8 points.
Yeah,
8 points for Mr. Hatcher. It's 11-8. Oh wait, is it 11-8? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll take your word for that.
I think it's 11-8.
You're an honest scorekeeper, I'm sure.
Yeah, unless the only other thing is that it'd be 12-8. So I think we'll give you the benefit of the doubt there, Chris.
Cheers, thanks a lot. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. So guys, if you like what you've heard today, then please do head on over to iTunes to rate, review and subscribe if you haven't done already. We love the support and it helps other people find the show as well. Likewise, as Chris did, if you've got any questions, do feel free to just hit us up on social media. You can find Rhys as More Than Lifting pretty much everywhere. You can find me as Coach Thatch pretty much everywhere. And on any of those platforms, likewise, go to the websites at morethanlifting.com or christopherthatcher.com. Send us a message, get in touch, reach out, give us some feedback. This show is only as good as its audience, which is you guys. So please do let us know if we can do anything better or if we can be of any help in any more detail moving forward. So yeah, reach out, connect, subscribe, rate, review, share it around, tell all your friends. And otherwise, thanks for listening. We are very grateful for your continued audiencing.
Your audience-ishness.
Audience-ish, yeah. I couldn't find the word there, so we'll go with audiencing. I'm sure that's a word somewhere.
It is now. We're gonna make it one. And one other thing, guys, if you are really, really struggling for motivation, just DM me on Instagram. There you go. Simple DM.
Simple.
Yeah. And we'll video back and forth, and I'll help you out, and you can help me out, hopefully too. Yay!
Awesome. Cool. Right. Well, that's me done for today. You good?
Yep. Yeah. All good, mate. Catch you guys next week, and love, and see you then.
Sweet. See you later, mate.
Bye, mate.
Bye.